Our weed of the week is common burdock, and as always, Darren seems to have some stories about weeds from when we were kids. So what do you got today, Darren?
Well, we used to have a collie on our farm, and she was a long-haired dog, and it was kind of a miniature collie, so she was really short. And Brad and I used to like to run around in our tree groves and chase after rabbits or whatever else we were up to. Well, our dog would always follow us around, and she would always find some common burdock somewhere. Now, if you aren't familiar with this weed, common burdock has some great big leaves. It kind of looks like rhubarb, but then it has some great big burrs.
That's actually what we thought it was, or what I thought it was when I was a kid, until we ran into those burrs.
Yeah, it's got great big burrs. If you're familiar with cockleburs, burdock has burrs that are even a little bit bigger. And our dog would find them. They'd get all tangled up in her fur, and of course, we'd run back to the house and we'd go ahead and have a snack or something and leave mom or dad up to dealing with the dog with all these burrs in her fur. And it's really not a good thing to have. When you're out in your tree groves, for example, this is where we see common burdock the most. It's important to get these weeds under control because you want to enjoy the nice shady places that you've got. And really, it's nice to have an acreage with a good tree belt that is clean and free of weeds so you can utilize your whole acreage.
Well, with common burdock, it's pretty easy to control in crops. We don't even really need to focus on that today. Where we see 99% of the common burdock is out in shelter belts. So the question is, what can you do out in shelter belts to control that burdock? And here's our best suggestion. If you want to go out late in the fall and again early in the spring with just straight 2,4-D at a relatively high rate, that will do an excellent job. Just do your best to keep the 2,4-D off leaves of trees and to not spray 2,4-D when you have lots of leaves on the trees, because what's going to happen is if you spray a high rated 2,4-D, it volatilizes, it moves up in the air, and it will knock off a lot of the leaves in trees. I can tell you that from firsthand experience. So for example, like the shelter belt that's right behind us, or actually the trees that are right behind us along the river, you can go out there and spray it this time of the year if you want to control that burdock. We just don't recommend that because there's no point in damaging those trees. Just wait until they drop the leaves in the fall. That's when you want to go hit it hard with 2,4-D, and I would say use the very highest labeled rate of true 2,4-D, not this watered down stuff you can buy for your lawns. You need the real stuff, and then you'll do an excellent job. The thing that I will caution you on is a lot of people are out spraying their pastures with products like 2,4-D, Grazon, Milestone, and Forefront. All these products will damage many trees. You have to make sure you're keeping those well away from shelter belts, well away from any trees you want to save. So absolutely do not use Toradon, Grazon, Milestone, or Forefront. Just stay with the straight 2,4-D. If you want to kill everything that's in that shelter belt other than the trees, you can use Roundup as long as you keep that off the actual tree leaves.
So watch out for our Weed of the Week common burdock in your tree groves and in your crop ground occasionally as well. That's all the time we have for this week's Weed of the Week, but there's more Ag PhD to come after this.